Hello everyone, welcome back. This is going to be a lesson on how to complete the drawing for the template, which is the challenger and the last of our drawings in the single view drawing set in the AutoCAD module. Now I'm going to be showing you a couple of new commands while you do this. I know some people have already started this drawing, some people may have completed it, but I want to be able to do a video on it and show you some things that you may not know that you can apply to the future drawings you're going to work on. So I've already downloaded this. I've already saved it to my desktop as I've shown you before, and I have the ortho already turned on. So I'm going to get started with my line command, and I'm going to start drawing the perimeter shape of this, which is a rectangle. So I'm going to zoom in and grab my line command and start at my usual starting point in the origin, which is the bottom left hand corner, and I'm going to key in a line horizontally 150 millimeters long. Now to come up vertically, it doesn't give you an overall length. It gives you two numbers, 72 and 35. So to add those numbers up, I'm going to get 107. Key in 107. Now, instead of keying in 150, like I've shown you before to come back, I'm going to bring my cursor down, and I'm just going to touch the origin where I started. And this is going to create what's called an O track, where you see this green broken line, and it actually previews 150, as you can see there. So this is one way to avoid having to key in redundant information. You can just touch certain parts of the drawing with your cursor, and the O track will pick it up for you. So that's what's happening here. So while I see that, I'm going to left click, and I've got this line drawn 150 millimeters long. Now I can just come down and type C enter to end the command and exit out of the line command. So moving onward. There, we're going to start with doing all of the bevels first, or the chamfers we can call them. So I'm going to start by picking offset, and I'm going to do the first one, which is 20 millimeters away from the left vertical line. So I'm going to type in 20, and I'm going to select this line and click to the right, right click, left click, enter to escape the command. Now we're going to go into polar mode. That angle is 30 degrees, so I'm going to make sure that this is changed or set to 30 degrees. Pick my line command, come into this endpoint, and come down on 120. 120 is the same thing as 30 because this is 90 degrees, and adding 30 will make it 120. So we'll come down to this intersection and left click, right click, left click. We're going to take this line and erase it because we don't need it anymore. And instead of using the trim command, there's another way I can clean this up. I can just select this line while I'm using a grip, and I can just select the node and I can drag it back to this endpoint. And I can also do the same thing here. Pick this node, drag it back to this endpoint, and that's just as good as trimming. So that's just another alternative for you to use. The idea of showing you all these different commands is that the hope is you're going to see what you like and you're going to develop your own style, right? Every student may draft a little bit differently, but it doesn't matter as long as the end result is correct. So I want you to try to find what you like and kind of get into that groove. Moving onward, we're going to look at the top right hand side of the drawing, and we're going to create the two angles that are 15 degrees that intersect one another. So to find the length of it, it is 72 millimeters from the top right to the left. So we're going to use an offset. Key in 72, enter, select this line and click to the left. Right click, left click, enter. Now we're going to go back to polar. We're going to change the setting to be 15 degrees. So we're going to change it here. Pick our line tool again, pick this endpoint, and we're going to come on an angle of 165, which is 15 from 180. That's going to land us about here at that intersection. Right click, left click, enter. Right click, left click, repeat line. This is the same angle, so start at this endpoint, come down on 75. 15 less than 90. Intersection. Right click, left click, enter. Okay, so this line can be erased. We can trim this or we can use a grip. I'm going to use a grip for now, so I'm going to select it, just snap it to that endpoint. And I'm also going to trim. I'll trim this one up here just for fun. Boundary. Right click, left click. Okay. It's the exact same thing in the bottom right-hand corner, except it's vertical. So again, we're going to offset again. Now, I don't need to key in 72. I can just hit enter, because if I'm repeating the same offset, AutoCAD remembers the last input. So it remembers 72, so I can just hit enter and pick this bottom horizontal line and then offset it up. Right click, left click, enter. Select our line. Start at this bottom endpoint snap, click, and come up on 105, which is 15 more than 90. And end the command at this intersection, left click, right click, left click, repeat line, select this endpoint, and we're going to come down on 160. We're going to come down on 165. This line erases. We can use a grip, bring this down into that endpoint, and we can use a trim. Sometimes it's clunky for me to end some of these commands because I'm recording while I do this, and if I was to hit my escape key, it'll actually just end the recording. So I have to make sure I never touch my escape key. It's the one thing I can never use when I do these lessons, and sometimes I like to use it because I like to use it when I'm making drawings on my own. So that's why sometimes it looks a bit clunky when I'm trying to end these commands. Okay, moving onward, we have one more angle left, but we're going to do this one a different way. This is something I've never shown you. We're going to use a modify tool to do it. We're going to modify existing geometry. So up here in modify, next to mirror, we have the fillet tool. And if we click the arrow, more options appear. So we want to select chamfer. But we just can't go picking and choosing. We have to read the command line. The command line says, select first line or undo polyline distance, angle, and etc., etc. We have a distance of 28 and an angle of 45 degrees, according to the iPad I'm looking at. So I'm going to select angle, and I'm going to key in the distance as 28. And now it wants to know, it asks me what the angle is supposed to be. Well, the angle is 45. So I'm going to type that in, hit enter. And then I can select this vertical line and this horizontal line. And it's automatically going to modify that geometry to give me that bevel in the corner. So instead of using offsets and using a polar, this is a quicker way to execute that angle. So that's something else you can add to your toolbox. The next thing we're going to look at is the symmetrical, I call it an arrowhead, that sits in this area right here. So to find some starting positions, we're going to use offset again. So we're going to use offset, this time key in 16 as your value and hit enter. And I'm going to offset this line up 16. Right click, left click, enter. Now we're going to have to offset this line over. Now there's no whole value for that. I have to add some numbers up. From the bottom left-hand corner of the arrowhead, from the most left vertical line is 57 and 28. So the easiest way for me to add that up in my head is to just add 30 to 57 and then subtract 2. That's something my grade 5 teacher taught me. So 57 plus 30 is 87, subtract 2 is 85. So 85 is our number. So select offset, key in 85, hit enter, and then select this vertical line and click to the right. Right click, left click, enter to end. Now, because I've already done this chamfer, this doesn't reach down like I need it to. So what I can do is I can turn my ortho back on and then just select this as a grip, pull it down to meet the perpendicular snap. And then one more offset to find the center of this. So I'm going to hit offset, and the next one is 23. It's symmetrically 23 on both sides of the arrowhead. So we need one offset of 23. Let's try that again. Just hit enter. Right click, left click, enter. Okay, so now I have, this is going to represent the center. This is the anchor point to get that arrowhead started. So the angles we need are 45 degrees and 15 degrees. So I'm going to go back into polar mode, right click, select 45. Actually, I'll keep it on 15. I'll do that one first because it's already set. So I'll grab the line, start at this intersection and come up on 15 degrees and then end at that intersection right there. And right click polar, switch the angle now to 45 degrees. Right click, left click, repeat line. Find that endpoint. Find 45 degrees, see that green beam, and bring it right up to that intersection. Left click, right click, left click, enter. So there's half of the arrow drawn. Now this line and this line I can get rid of. I'll just erase them. And I can mirror this to the other side. So we're going to use our mirror tool again. Select the objects. I'm just going to pick these two lines. Right click my mouse. It says specify first point of mirror line. So I'm either going to pick here or here. So I'll pick here. And I'm getting too many mirroring possibilities here. So the way to fix that, ortho. Okay, so once I see the preview I like, I'm going to click here. Erase the source object, yes or no? No. I couldn't pick this point again, otherwise AutoCAD would have given me an error message. Where you start the mirror and where you end the mirror, the 2 points must be distinct. Okay, you're going to notice on the drawing that this line is actually shorter and it's lighter in contrast and it's got an intermittent dash in the center. So that's called a center line. And all mechanical drawings have center lines to represent symmetry. Now we're going to talk more about center lines later. I don't want to get into a lesson about that this moment to save time. But I just want you to select the line, go up to your layer manager and pick center line from the list. And that's going to turn that line into a center line. Now all I'm going to say about the center lines is that not to be confused with what's to be manufactured, the center line must stick out beyond the feature that it's attached to. But by how much? Well, we're going to learn more about this later, but in the video now I'm going to tell you it's 6 millimeters. So we're going to grab this endpoint, we're going to grip it down to this endpoint, and we're going to stretch it vertically up, and we're going to key in 6, enter. We're going to take this one, we're going to stretch it down vertically, and we're going to key in 6 here. All right. So that center line is to represent the symmetry of the arrow, right? This drawing only requires 1, and we'll talk more about that another time. Okay. I'm having a problem with my exiting my commands again. Okay, so the last thing we have to do is draw that horizontal bevel T that you see on the drawing. So we're going to start with offsets again. We need to find some offsets to be able to find some anchor points to start drawing lines on polar. So we have a line that comes up 27, then comes up 30, and comes up 30. So we're going to start with the line that's 27. Type 27, enter, take this line, horizontal one, and offset it up. I have to end the command here because I need another offset value. So I'm going to right click, left click, repeat offset, and I'm going to key in 30 this time. Enter. This line is offset once and twice because it's the same value. Right click, left click, enter. Okay, now we need to offset this vertical line over. So that is shown on the drawing as dimension 29 millimeters to the center tip of the T. So again, the offset this time will be 29. We'll key in 29, enter, offset this line over to the right. Right click, left click, enter. Now you're going to notice, this is where you can make a mistake. This line, because of the chamfer, is not touching this horizontal line. It's very important that it does because the bottom left-hand corner must start here. So this line can be selected and gripped down to perpendicular snap. This one here also has to be gripped and brought up. Next, we can actually start drawing some lines on polar. So this polar angle has to be switched on. So polar is on again and switched to 15 degrees. Select the line and make sure that you're selecting this midpoint. Don't be selecting this endpoint. You could actually trim this off if you're not sure. But I'm not going to, but I'm just going to start at the midpoint. And I'm going to come up on an angle of 75 degrees, which is the equivalent of 15. So come up to this intersection and click. I could mirror this, but I'm not going to mirror it. I've done too many mirrors lately, so I'm going to right click, left click, repeat line, go to the same starting point, and come down on 75. Intersection. Okay. Now we need to add some thickness to the top of the T, so it's showing as a value of 11. So we're going to go into offset, key in 11, enter, pick this line, click, pick this line, and click. Okay. Next, we need to add some thickness. This horizontal line here represents the center line of the base of the T. And it's showing at a value of 11 as well, so we're going to offset it 5.5 each direction. We have to take 11 and divide it by 2. So we're going to hit offset, type in 5.5, which is half of 11. Hit enter. Pick this line, click up, and click below. And now we have it. Right click, left click, enter. Now we're getting a little crowded with line geometry now, so I'm going to attempt to clean some things up before I continue. So this line here has to be extended up to this perpendicular, or intersection, I should say. So as long as as long as polar is on and the angle is still set to 15 degrees, we can zoom in, click this line, and we can continue it on up on that angle to that intersection. This is one method. There's another method, but I won't show it to you right now. Bring it to that intersection. Okay, so that's extended, that's proper. Next, we're going to do some trimming, right? So we're going to take this line, we're going to erase it. We're going to pick trim. We're going to select these lines as boundaries. We're going to trim this part of the line, this one, and this one. And this line here can be erased because it's not needed. And we can also trim away this and this because this trim is represented by these two boundaries. Okay. So to find the length of the base of the T, it shows a dimension of 49. It's dimensioned from this corner right here. So what I can do is draw a line from top to bottom and offset it 49. And then trim. So we're going to trim. This is the boundary. Right click, left click, left click. This line can erase. And then these lines have to be trimmed. So we're going to select trim, pick this line, and these two. Right click, and then trim the access on the top of the T. And that, my students, is how you draw the template, or I should say one way to draw the template, because you may have accomplished it your own way. But that is that's how I did it, and I'm glad I was able to do the lesson and show you how to learn a few new commands that you can add to your skill set. So if you haven't done this drawing yet, try it out. It's a great one. It concludes our single view drawings. And our next AutoCAD lesson, we'll take a look at orthographic projections. So until that time, talk to you later and have a great day.